Richard here. Welcome to Norfolk Bacon video. And on this one, you probably noticed we've got the sausages and chipolatas on the website now. So I thought I'd give you a little bit of an insight into how we make them and what it involves. Right, to start with, if I show you in here, that's the just cubed up pork. That's all the little bits of pork trim. When I'm busy, I get extra manufacturing pork, which is nice blend of fat and lean together. And that's a pretty fair example. That's what I've used today, in actual fact. So that's a nice bit of pork there. Now, what we do to start with is when we got that all cut up, de-rind, there's no skin or bone or anything like that in our sausages. I put it through the mincer, and we mince it the first time. Bring these two plates over. So it's put through a mincing machine using a 3/8 of an inch plate, which is about 9mm in today's money. And once that's run through, we then add the rusk and the seasoning to it. And I'll show you a little bit more about that, how we mix the rusk and seasoning together. When we got that and they're settled for a while, we then mix the rusk in with the pork, so that gives you that nice sort of blend. The idea of the rusk is that that means that when you have the sausages, they don't split out of the skins, and that keeps a nice even continuity to them. And so that's good bit of stuff. With ours sausages, we use all natural hog casings, for the sausages, and that's lambs for the thinner chipolatas. I'm going to show you how we tie those in a little while, and two different methods of tying. So once that's then been mixed like that, we run it through the mincer for a second time, this time using a finer plate, which is about 4mm holes in that, or the old 1/8 of an inch. When it's been through there, it then comes out looking like that, sausage meat. And this is the stuff that we use for making the sausages and chipolatas. That's all the same stuff, the banquet sausages. And we put that into the natural case. So what I'll do now is I'll just show you how we mix, because there's some involved with it. This is actually the rusk and seasoning together, which I'll just tip some out. And I'll do this generally the day before we need it, so that it has time to dry out. And you'll see, years ago they would have used bread, and now we have a nice consistent product, which is rusk. And I'll mix the seasoning and the water to that. As I said, there's a little bit involved. The way we mix it helps reduce the salt, and we have an average salt level 1.38%, so they're very good as regards for if anybody's looking on keeping the salt level down. Little bit on that, we use a good quality seasoning, and that has a low natural salt level. When, as in some cases, if you use a cheaper seasoning, that generally has a higher salt content. That's because seasoning is expensive stuff to produce, and obviously salt is the cheapest commodity in it. So the more salt they can put in to make it up to so many kilos in weight for the seasoning, the more profitable it is for them. By buying a quality one, the weight is made up of the more expensive sort of spices and other components. So I'll just show you that. I'll move that one side and show you how we mix that up. Now then, this is the dried rusk to start with. Bring this over. Place that here. I'll just show you. Our seasoning comes in 20 kilo tubs. What we actually do when it arrives, and there's quite a bit to this, I then weigh it up into little packets that I know how much I'm going to make at a time, and I do that up in convenient sizes. One of the reasons for this is we've learnt, luckily the Norfolk Trading Standards put an evening on about sausage making, and that's quite informative even for somebody like me that's done it for years. If you don't weigh your seasoning up when it first arrives, as a tub, if you have a tub of seasoning that keeps getting moved about, the salt is the heaviest thing that goes to the bottom of the tub. So over a period of time the concentration at the bottom would be greater. So if as soon as you get it, you weigh it up into little bags, and then they can't settle anymore, so that eradicates that problem. Now another thing with keeping the salt level down, which we do now, I know how much water we need to activate this rusk. So here we have one of my packets of seasoning, and I actually mix the seasoning to the water like that. Just tip that in. Just pop that away. And give that a little mix round. Now, that's a surprising thing, but by adding the seasoning again to the water, that reduces the amount of salt, and all the seasoning, it activates it well to start with. So you give that blend like that. The other advantage was how we used to do it. We used to then put the seasoning in with the rusk and then add the water to everything. By adding the seasoning to the water, that means you get a much more consistent product. That's ready to go then. Right, so we now tip that to the rusk. We keep a little bit of the water back. Make sure all the seasoning is in there. And now, when you blend that together, you've got a nice consistent product. So the seasoning is evenly dispersed all the way through it. You don't get any lumps of seasoning, which is another problem. Some people spread the seasoning direct onto the pork, and again that gives you an inconsistent product, because obviously if you have a bit of pork where the seasoning has landed, that's well coated with seasoning. Whereas another bit will be missed by doing it this way around. Right, and that does, as I say, generally try and leave that a day, because that will now expand and then dry out a bit, and that will turn into the same season or the same type of rusk as I showed you earlier. Right, I think that's about it at the moment. Now what I'm going to do is, I've made some sausages and chipolatas a little while ago, about an hour or so ago. I'm going to show you the two different ways that we tie those. We used to tie them so they were, going back to old money, was 8 to the pound, and nowadays I link them rather than tie them, and this makes the whole process a whole lot quicker, as will become evident when you see what the difference involves. Saves a lot of man hours, and you end up with a good product. Okay, so we'll come back. What I'll do is clear this, and then I'll do the tying on there so you can see it. Okay. Welcome back to this bit of the video, and hopefully I'm going to demonstrate how to tie the sausages two different ways. This is not my normal room for making the sausages, but that's a nicer environment just for the purposes of demonstration. I've got to tie the food and then hang them up behind me. What I'm just going to do is, I don't think I did it on the first bit, just show you how the skins come into us. Now the hog casings, they're just dry and in a salt to preserve them. And what we do before we want to use them is we wash the wash them 2 or 3 times to get the excess salt off, and then they turn into, this is it when they're ready to go. These are actually, this is a single chipolata skin, so once they've been soaked, they're ready to go like that. And in actual fact, this is one single skin, but I'd already used some to fill some of the chipolatas I'm going to demonstrate to you on. Right, so start with tying the sausage. I'll just wet my hands up. Again, for this usually I have a white apron, but it's not quite as glamorous as this. I'll start by just showing you how we tie them now, and that's the linkage method in the reelers. So you start by just making 3. Try and show it to you slowly. You just nip it together, so you've got 3 sausages there. Tie the first little one round, and that gives you a link which you can hang over your finger. Just get hold of the next bit of pork, pass it through, just give it a nip, and then just continuation of that. Every time you just pass it through, nip it. When you think that's the equivalent of 2 sausages, nip them in the middle, get this end, that looks about the same length, nip it again, pull it through. This one's already got a twist in it, so we'll call that sausage size. Nip it at the bottom, 2 more. Now the nice thing with this method of tying, I'll just move a little bit closer to them, is you're just picking up the skin once, feeding it. As you can see, we're very quickly forming sausages. Using a natural skin, and depending on how well I'm concentrating or not, the size does vary a bit. Just to pull that through. But there again, that's all part of the attraction of having a natural type product. These will be a couple of big ones. Generally, when I cut them off, I try and make it so 6 sausages weighs about 500 grams. Because you'll get variation through them, some bits of the skin are bigger than the others. You can sometimes blend larger and smaller together. So this one, in actual fact, is coming to the end now. So we just tie that off. Perhaps give that bit a couple of twists, just to keep that 2 separate sausages. And that's job done. Nip a little bit of sausage meat out the end. So there you go. If you want to have a go at doing that really is as like when I show you how to tie the knot. It's very easy once you get in the swing of it, and you can see a lovely, nice, even sausage. Generally, although you can eat them straight away, you get the best flavour after they've been made 3 or 4 days on average. Because then the seasoning's got completely into the meat, the texture is at its best. So they're a good one now. It's what we call the banquet sausage. They never did have a name until a man did a sausage review, and I realised all our others had names, like pork and leek and sage and pork and apple. So we then came up with the idea of calling these banquet, and the thought behind that is that you can have a banquet at any time. Right, so that's showing you one method of tying. I'll hang these on there. They should stay put. You don't want to hang too many on there at a time, because the weight is all too much, so we'll see if they break through on it. Now then, how we used to do them. And literally we taught them for years and years, and that's the nice thing when you do have different people come along. Everybody can show you something, and this made me realise how much time we were wasting. Right, just for the purpose of this exercise, I'll snap that through there. Now the old way of tying them, in 1/8 to the pound, you had to find the middle of the skin first. So you got hold of the 2 ends, go all the way along, like this, find the middle, nip it, give it a couple of twists. Now if you watch with this way, you hang that over your finger, nip it. This little element of it is easier because you nip it to what you think is a good size sausage. Twist the right hand side over the left so as it comes round the back, pass it through, and then you have to pull all that bit through. So again, see the two, twist the right hand side round to the back, pop it through and pull it. Now there are various failings, apart from the fact you work that out if you're making a lot of sausages, how many metres you're pulling through there time and time again. Whereas compared with the linkage system, you don't have to get hold. This is another thing that happens when you do them this way, because you're always twisting the skin round, you get little gaps form in it, which is not helpful because you either have to stand and twist them out and then even that out. But even this, just try and do a little bit quicker. I do actually have one customer who still likes some tide like this, but we have to make an allowance for the fact that that takes me so much longer to do it. The only thing that I do still tie in this way, really, cocktail sausages, when I get a request for them, and because they're very small and fiddly, you can't do them on the linkage system. So work out how long it's taken. Just nip that out again. So that's where there's that nip in the skin, so that's obviously a larger one. But you see the difference. Just quickly, because I've only got one more piece sitting here, just moisten my hands a little bit more. Do that. I'll show you this again. Because it's always harder doing it on camera. You concentrate, whereas normally you just go through it and think about something else if you want. See how quickly that's making the sausages. There'll probably be a food butcher's about still tying that way. And when we see this, they'll realise quite how long the time they're paying somebody to stand and achieve very little. One more thing. That one's about the right size for a sausage, so we'll give that two more, just fill that up to the end. So that's the modern 3 links. I'll just hang him up. And that's the old bay, tied in twos. Right, now what I'll do is, I'll just tell you the food chipolatas, just to demonstrate that. I should have some in the tin. Try not to put too many in the tin, in case they fell off the front of the bench. Right, so most chipolatas we do, and I do several, well, thousands now per month. Again, you can knock them out quite nice and quickly. And that's generally, if there's, try and package these up in 500 grams, and that's normally about 13 sausages, 500 grams, or 13 chipolatas. Right, that one's just snapped on. So that's a standard chipolata. Through the summertime, we have a request. I do several, same thing, but what we do is leave them a little bit longer. And we call these barbecue chipolatas. The idea of that is that it's much nicer if you're having a barbecue. They're approximately the length of a bread roll, and they're much quicker to cook than what is doing sausages. So I'll just tell you a few of these to give you an idea. We appreciate the difference. There you go. You can imagine those cooked and then put into a bread roll. That's really nice. Last one, I'll just show you a little bit of this. Cocktail sausages. Just pull one bit off. And I'll try. These are more expensive per kilo to buy, because again we're going back to the old way of tying these, and that is very much more fiddly. So we just try and make those same little thing. You can see how much more difficult that is to tie a cocktail sausage. We're certainly using natural casings, so if you put them too tight, they just split, and then that's a waste. There we go. So, the cocktail sausage on a good day I get them smaller than that. Right, I think that's about everything you should need to know, or would want to know about making sausages. Anything else, you have my contact information, so that's sales@norfolkbacon.uk or .co.uk. And we'll leave it there. Thanks very much for watching. Alright, bye bye.